Welcome back to Secret Squirrel Games. I'm your host, Secret Squirrel. Today we are back at Tutorial Tuesday, where we're going to walk through some aspects of the game. Now, I'm going to try to lighten the load a little bit on the tutorial portion. Instead of doing a whole game tutorial, I'm just going to try to maybe center on one aspect of the game, and then maybe do a different aspect of the game next week on Tuesday, and a different one on the next Tuesday, so that they're not all just the same, full-on repetitive. Now, I've already done a full-on tutorial session before, so that's in the playlist on my YouTube channel if you missed that one. It was like maybe the second Tutorial Tuesday video. It was pretty in-depth. The first one was pretty good too, but I think the second one was really in-depth. But anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and do this today. As far as what we're gonna walk through today, I think we're gonna keep them relatively short as far as the heavy tutorial part, like I said. So today's focus is just gonna be on this. Today's focus will be on the factions. We'll do the factions. How about that? Alright, so in regards to Tutorial Tuesday, you start, of course, in your garage. So welcome to Crossout, by the way, in that case. For those who don't know, Crossout is a post-apocalyptic themed vehicle crafting, building, and fighting game. You have the option of fighting. You build the vehicles yourselves, first off, with various parts that you gain access to as you level up with different factions, which leads into today's tutorial, right? And also, you're going to get things rewarded as you level up with different factions. They're just going to give you parts, too. But as you get these parts, you build up the vehicle that you would like, that you desire, and then you go out and you hit either an arena-style battle, where it's like 8 versus 8, and we'll do some of that when we get into the challenges and everything, but I'm not going to walk us through that as heavy this time, but that in a future video there will be a full tutorial on the challenges. There will be a few, basically let's look at we're going to do a simple tutorial on each of the tabs up here, as well as, what's on each of the screens and stuff like that, and how you navigate your way through and around the game, basically, in order to hopefully give you better knowledge. And maybe even if you're a relatively experienced player, there may be some parts of the game that you haven't experienced yet, just don't have that much knowledge of. Because a lot of folks tend to get into the game and they just think of it as a straight arena battle, especially when they're low power score. They just and I'll go into power scores in a little bit or whatever, but when they're basically a beginner player, they just go in and just brawl with other vehicles, and then that's it, and it's not the only parts of the game. Don't get me wrong, that's a big focus of the game, sure. That's a big part of it, but it's not the only thing that the game has to offer. So what we're going to do today is we are going to look at the Factions tab, which is the second tab just to the right of the garage. You start in the garage, like I said. This is where your active vehicle is, your current active vehicle. And we'll do the garage as a separate tutorial on its own. I know we could start there. It seems like it would be the logical place, but I'm not going to start there. I'm going to start at Factions, so we can get this out of the way. Alright, so on the Faction tab, when you click on the Faction tab, first you'll see that there are 3 sub-tabs: Factions, Technology Tree, and Building. I'll start at the right and work my way back to the left, because they're easier that way, because this one's going to be the more in-depth one to go into. On the Building tab, this is for your training area, your test track, where you go on a test drive. And in order to demonstrate this, I'm going to go back to the garage real quick, show you right up here where it says test drive, and when you hit that, the doors open as long as you have an active vehicle and can drive it. In other words, as long as you have at least a cabin, and a cabin has to be set on a frame. As long as you have a frame and a cabin, those doors will open up. Now, you'll need wheels or something like that in order to come out those doors, some kind of a mobility type of device on your vehicle, but once you do, you can come out into your test track, excuse me. Now, there are a couple of different variations of test tracks. You can adjust those in your settings as to which test track you use. And I haven't really adjusted mine. I just keep it on this one. When you come out, there are a few things that, well, you know what? I'll get more into this when I do the tutorial on the garage setting, because that test drive is a button on the garage screen. We're doing factions today, but my point being that on the factions tab, there were the 3 sub tabs. One of them is about building stuff. That would be some things that you can build and add to your test drive area, to your test track area. A bunch of this stuff is static, but this stuff in this general area right here, these targets at these ranges, those are static, those are automatically there. But things like this little exploding fireworks box, I added that myself to my test track. These ramps over here and all this breakable stuff, I added that to my test track. The torch, added that to my test track. These ramps here with all this breakable stuff, added that to my test track. This block of cement here, whatever, this fence, this pile of junk cars, this Ferris wheel, all these are things that I customized and added myself to the test track. All this stuff here, around this bus, all that was added to my test track by way of this type of stuff. All right, now you get a bunch of this stuff from weekly challenges. You'll get kind of loot boxes that will have some items in them that you can add to your test track. But then additionally, here's a place where you can craft the items, all right here on the factions tab. So if I wanted this type of guard right here, I could craft it with 50 building supplies, which is a resource that you get in these little loot boxes from weekly challenges and stuff like that. Same thing with like stack of pallets, whatever, a windmill. There's a ton of stuff in here that you can put on your test track. It's all just aesthetics, really. It doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't do anything for you. I mean, if you want to do it and make your test track look different or more creative, then feel free to do so, of course. There's no positive to it necessarily. It's just for you, What's going on, Foxy? Welcome to the stream. How you doing today? Now, working my way to the left, like I said, that's what the building tab is for. I never really access the building tab personally, but you can do that if you want. Working their way to the left, you'll see the technology tree. Now, this itemizes all the things that you can craft, not including the building tab, but I'm saying things you can craft for your vehicle. There are plenty of parts that you cannot craft, okay? Yeah, of course, I got a haircut, yes. There are plenty of things you cannot craft that are that you'll have awarded to you from factions, and that you can do to that you can add to your vehicle, but they are not they're not listed here on the technology tree, okay? Because I'm sorry, there are plenty of things you cannot craft, yes, but are awarded to you by the factions and such, that because that you cannot craft them, they're not listed here on the technology tree, okay? So, as far as the technology tree is concerned, you have different filters up here on the top to see what you're looking at, but essentially what you're looking at is based on categories: machine guns, shotguns, auto cannons. You can see there's a scroll bar at the bottom. You've got cannons, you've got rocket launchers. That's all. This is all what's being displayed right now because I'm specifically in the weapons filter. If I wanted to look at framework type stuff, cabins and such, then I would do that. And there's light cabins, there's medium cabins, there's heavy cabins, right? And when it shows the item, it shows based on rarity: white being common, blue being rare, turquoise being special, purple being epic, gold being legendary, and then orange being relic. Okay, so you can see that there are, like in the light cabins alone, you can look at the stats for individual cabins by hovering over them. You could also click on them, like if I know I want to make a bat, for example, but I don't know what's involved in it. I can click on it and it'll show what's necessary. It'll take 2 hours. It shows which workbench that it would be crafted on, fire starters, which faction I have to have active in order to craft it. In other words, here's the resources: the scrap, the wires, the copper, and the plastic that I need. That's like the amount that I currently have before the slash, and then the amount that's required for the build behind the slash, and that'll let you know if you have enough to make the build. And then here are prerequisite items. These items get consumed in the crafting as well. So I would need a growl-like cabin and a big G generator, just one of each. I have 0 of each currently, but I could go straight to the workbench and do this, or I could buy it straight off the market right now by doing it this way, or yeah. So anyway, but like it says, you need to join the faction fire starters to get this part, and then you can craft it. Now, if I instead wanted to craft these because I don't have either one of these parts, I can literally just click on this, and it'll show me. This is, see the arrow right here indicating this is the requirements for the big G, and it would show me the statistics for that. It would show me it requires 700 scrap and 130 copper, and it requires an Avenger 57mm and a B1 Aviator. Well, now I happen to have 2 of those and 3 of those already, but if I didn't have an Avenger, I could click on that, and it shows what it needs. Because you saw the background change color is also. So that shows that I'm looking at the Avenger 57mm right now on the engineer workbench, and it takes 30 scrap and 6 copper and all this kind of stuff. I could craft that right now, or again, buy it on the market. I could instead look at the B1 Aviator and see what its requirements are. I can come up here again to the big G, blue background now, that shows which one I'm looking at. If I wanted to then move over to the Growl, these are the requirements for it. It requires these parts and these requirements, and then of course the same thing. I can click on that, I can click on that. So it's a pretty convenient little tool here to have the technology tree where you can look through things. You've got hardware here, that's where your special modules are, like car jacks and not getting robbed and your car getting stolen. It's a jack. Like if you get flipped over, it lifts you up. It puts you back straight. You've got fuel tanks. You've got weapon boosters and all kinds of different stuff. Detonating modules, protective field like a force field. You have stealth modules. You have different types of radars that do different things. They all detect something, but sometimes they'll detect enemies in cover, or they might detect invisible. They might detect mines. They might broadcast this information to your allies as well. You have scopes, so that if you're a long-range weapon, wherever you can fire more accurately. You have generators that provide more power, because the way the game works is the cabins provide the base amount of energy that you have in order to apply these modules. You see this says energy drain 1 point in the stats at the bottom, in the middle portion basically. And then like this one doesn't have an energy drain. This one has an energy drain of 1 point. The booster has an energy drain of 1 point. Well, the weapons and stuff, a lot of these will have an energy... Oh, hold on. I clicked on the wrong thing. But a lot of these will have an energy drain of like 3 points or 4 points, things like that. So as a result, these generators are important, because this will provide you 1 extra energy on top of what the cabin provides. This will provide you 2, this will provide you 3, and then of course when you get to the next higher level, it provides you 4. Also, you have engines. These will help increase the speed and the mass limit of the vehicle that you have, so that you can achieve more power and carry more weight on the vehicle. If you don't need to have, I know it sounds counterintuitive to say you don't need an engine to drive the vehicle. Obviously, you need an engine, but what it's essentially saying is that this adds to, because the cabin's kind of, it's kind of integrated. There's an engine basically with it, in the sense that it provides thrust and power for movement of the vehicle on its own. You only need the cabin. You don't need a separate engine. But if you get a separate engine, it increases the capacity and the capability of the vehicle. You can have extra ammunition boxes. You can have coolers and radiators. So the difference being a radiator increases the amount of time that a weapon... Not all weapons have an overheating statistic to them, as far as not all weapons overheat. Some do reload, some don't bother with any of that stuff. But if the weapon has an overheating statistic, then the radiators, which is this line here, which starts with the breeze, goes to the chill, and then goes to the seal here, those increase the time before the weapon becomes overheated. So as the weapon it can fire longer before becoming overheated. On the other hand, these are coolers, the Tamer and the Shiver. And what those do is, once a weapon becomes overheated, you'll see a little icon at the bottom of your screen for the weapon, and as it's heating up, a bar will kind of go up, and once it gets to the top, it's overheated, and then it has to go back down and reset before you can fire again, and it'll start heating again, right? Well, that's its cooldown period when it's going down. The coolers here, increase the cooling rate. So the one makes it where it goes up, the bar goes up slower as far as heating, the radiators do, and then the cooler makes it go down faster in order to cool down, faster, so that you can get back to firing again. So it's especially neat when you get the two in combination, where the weapons can, take a long time to overheat, and then when they do overheat, they rapidly cool back down. You're back to a long time before overheating. So sometimes it's nice to do that. No, this is not a Kenshi stream. Is it marked as Kenshi still? Hold on a second. I will adjust that. I thought I adjusted it. I apologize. This is cross out, but I will do it. Yeah, I figured as much. I apologize. My mistake. I will do it. Yep. Apologize. Sorry, people. Alright, so it should be corrected now. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, okay. Boom, 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 boom. What was I... Oh, yeah, so I was doing something else here. So, anyway, let me make sure of something real quick before I do that. Just to make sure that we are all set. It doesn't look like it's set. Yeah, it should be set, but it's not showing up in... There we go. Alright, so now we're in crossout. Okay. There we go. Just wanted to make sure that it was accepting the changes. Okay, so yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just want to make sure that it updated. It took a minute for some reason. All right, so anyway, like I said, there's special modules, and then there's the movement pieces as well. So this is where you get into your tires, and eventually you get into tracks. And, you're different. I shouldn't say just the tires, the wheels, obviously. The tracks, you get hovers, you get, like, spider legs as available to you. You get augers, which are like a screw, a giant screw, basically, or whatever. They allow you to move side to side and up and forward, backward, all this stuff or whatever. The augers and the tracks do damage if a vehicle is under you, like if you go up over a vehicle and they're going to take damage from the tracks or the augers being over them, for example. But what these do is not just for appearance. They increase the tonnage of the vehicle. Now, they also reduce the power of the vehicle, but it increases the tonnage, which then makes it easier for you to drive faster or carry more, drive faster, and it all kind of connects the tonnage and the mass limit and all this stuff, and the power of the cabin, as well as any power boosts or reductions that come from the engines or the wheels. All of that computes in to determine not only your top speed, but also your acceleration rate. Now, if you are over mass for your vehicle when you're crafting it, then your vehicle's it's barely going to move, if at all. I mean, like, literally, it'll be like, it'll be crawling, and it's going to be super annoying. So, yeah, these are things you need to pay attention to. But you also have filters here where you can filter parts by seasons and stuff like that. You can filter parts by whether you have the blueprint for the item available, or if it's available on the market, or if you can craft it, things like that. Then you also have light wheel, like in this case, light wheels, medium wheels, heavy wheels, each of these categories. And that's why these bars change based on the category, the overall category that you're in. So, like, if you wanted to look at specifically machine guns, you just click machine guns, and it'll highlight the machine guns for you. So you find it really easy. I'm not sure exactly what the point is of that, to tell you the truth, because it's not like you can't find it pretty easy. There's only so many categories. But nevertheless, and then you can search for a specific one if you don't know where it lies, as far as like if I didn't know the ghost cabin, but somebody told me, oh yeah, you need to get a ghost cabin or something like that, I think, or maybe not. Maybe you can't search for a specific one. I thought you could. No, I guess you could sort them by factions that they're part of, which again is what the point of today's tutorial is. So building tab is stuff for your test track, purely up to you whether you even want to mess with that too much. I wouldn't. They give you a bunch of free stuff in different loot boxes, essentially, and you only have so much room on your test track that you can put this stuff anyway. So I don't know that I would go to the trouble of building any of these parts, but some people do. The technology tree is good for looking up information on different pieces and parts that you want, absolutely. And then that brings us to the faction sub-tab under factions. Now, you'll see that there are side arrows here for scrolling to the side. What you're going to see in this page, when you come to this page, is your active factions are all going to have a little check mark next to them, and then this one is active because it's seasonal right now. Okay? There is, if I go back to the garage, you'll see this pop up right over here, basically. This little box indicates that we're in the Syndicate season. There's still 38 days and 7 hours left in the Syndicate season, and what it is an event that's going on, a seasonal event that's going on. You gain levels in the season as you earn experience with the seasonal faction, with Syndicate, by doing their specific seasonal challenges over here. You gain 300 experience for doing this, for example, 3,000 experience for doing this, things like that. And then that will level you up with them, and you'll get rewards as you go along with them. Additionally, that's if you pay for the season, then you'll get all the rewards that are listed. It's only $10, and it's a much better deal than buying coins straight up. But if you pay for the season, then you'll get all of the rewards that are listed. If you don't pay, you'll just get the ones that are marked free up there above them. And like all of these and stuff like that when you get high enough level in them. But, and you can see the level at the bottom and stuff of this particular screen. So, because of that, they're constantly considered an active faction during the course of this season. At the end of the season, they're not going to be your active faction automatically. You can see level right here, and the progression toward the next level is the outer diamond. So you can see I'm about almost a quarter of the way to the next level here currently with them. And that same theme goes along with all the other factions. There's a diamond where it indicates the faction symbol, the level that you are currently with them, and your progress toward the next level is depicted graphically on the outer diamond around that, but you can see the numbers when you hold over them anyway. There's a whole pop-up, and it'll say the numbers of what your current reputation is, what your target reputation is. Reputation is experience points with that particular faction. And then it'll even tell you, you don't have to do the math, it'll tell you what's required for the next level. It'll have a little pop-up of flavor of what that group is about as well. And it'll show, for example, equipment 42 of 48, in this case for Dawn's Children, which is my current active faction, or one of my current active factions. You're always active with the engineers. So they don't really count as your current active faction. It'll say current, like when you click on it, it'll say current faction, but it's always your current faction. So that's not a problem, okay? But the reason I point out things like equipment 42 of 48 here and blueprints 5 of 6 is because as you gain up in levels with the different factions, you not only do you unlock access to workbenches and certain things on the workbenches, like when I first started with them or whatever, I might only have, I don't remember exactly, but I might only have like the first 3 items, and then like a couple more things got unlocked at the next levels and stuff like that, and then eventually you unlock the purple workbench with the first couple of items, and then a little bit more items, and a little bit more items, and stuff like that as you level up, and then eventually you get to this one, and it unlocks more, and it unlocks more, and it unlocks more. I think you had to be level 12, for example, with them to unlock Apollo, 4 generator, for example. These are the workbenches where you can make and craft these items. It shows the resources, the amount of time, the cost in actual game coins. That's in-game money. You can buy coins, you can get coins awarded to for certain things, but in general, a lot of people who throw money at the game, that they tend to just buy coins a lot, or a pack that includes coins. Like in my case, I bought the season. The season's a better deal as long as you're going to play through the whole season. Then you're going to get a better deal, more coins for your money that way, especially, and additional side parts as well. But this will show. This is where you actually craft this item. So if I wanted this cabin, this is where I would actually craft it. It would cost this money, it would cost these resources, 50 plastic, 100 copper, 100 wires, 50 scrap, and it would cost these 2 required prerequisite parts that get used, they get consumed in the production of this part right here. Like I said, I have this part, but I don't have this part, for example. So then I would have to go to that part and craft it first, and then come back and be able to craft that kind of thing, or buy it, and then do that. But that's what most people focus on as they're leveling up. They look at what they've unlocked as far as their capabilities on the different workbenches. The different levels of rarity, are depicted by the color, and then the workbenches. But not to be dismissed is this information down here at the bottom. Vehicle blueprints, like I said, it said 5 of 6. If I go back, I'll show you real quick. It said vehicle blueprints 5 of 6, and equipment 42 of 48. So 42 of 48 for equipment means that there's 6 more parts, or 6 more pieces that you get here in the equipment section that I have not unlocked yet. And I have 5 of these 6 blueprints that are available. And now if you want to see what I'm referring to here, if I click on all at the end, it'll show these are the 6 blueprints as you gain in levels with, in this case, the Dawn's Children. Then I get these blueprints. What these blueprints mean is, as long as I have the parts, I don't have to put this vehicle together. I can just click a button basically and have it made. And what I'm talking about is on the garage, there's a button over here called for your blueprints. These are the saved ones are your own blueprints. Behind this Twitch channel information up here, as far as donators and cheers and stuff like that, you might see this word that says faction. That's another tab. These are blueprints that are given by the factions to you as you level up with them. So you'll see there's a whole bunch of them. So if I wanted to try this vehicle, I don't have to build it myself as long as I have the parts. But it'll tell me if I have the parts or what parts I'm missing just by holding over this area. It says you're missing several parts. So if I got these parts, then all I would have to do is click this, and it automatically has this blueprint already in place for me. And then if I purchase a pack, or something, or if I want to test drive one of the vehicles that's in a pack, I can do that here, and the pack parts list will tell me what comes with that pack. That's all on the shop tab. We'll go over that another day. All right, but and see, it has the cost there also. But nevertheless, if we go back to the Dawn's Children, like I said, I have, from this faction, they have given me 5 of the 6 blueprints that are available. This one is available at level 15. I am not level 15 with them. So, but when I get to level 15, it will have this one available. As you can see, with Dawn's Children, I am level 13. So that will get unlocked. And same thing with the equipment. It said 42 of 48. So there's 6 more equipment. So if you go on the equipment here, you see all these things have locks on them. If I click on the all, if I scroll up, this is all equipment it gave me as I leveled up with this faction. Each level, it just gave me 2 of these parts. 2 of these parts. 1 of these parts. And these are all things, if I look at my storage, mine is separated by type right now. So I have cabins first, and then frames, and then weapons, and all this stuff. Well, what it was giving me, what the factions give you, are all these other pieces and parts that make up your vehicle that you can't craft, usually. I mean, you can sometimes craft them with challenges, with engineer badges, but most of these parts you can't craft. They have to be just given to you. And there's, in many cases, there's even a limit to how many of them you can have. So in other words, they'll give you X amount and then you cap out, you max out. But these are all pieces and parts that you use to design your vehicle, and these are all parts that are specifically given to you by the factions in most cases. So if you look at the, for example, again, I come back to Dawn's Children, all of these parts, and you can see what level I was given each of these parts. At level 5, I was given these parts. Level 6, I was given these parts. That kind of thing. As you level up, things like this are just other images, like this image here in your banner and stuff like that. You'll get that. This is a free workbench because if you note on the workbench, 15 minutes and it costs you 6 coins. Well, those coupons there would be a free workbench. So, like if I looked at this is what it would say instead if I had a free workbench. It would say 1 coupon or something like that. So if I go back to Dawn's Children and I go back to looking at this equipment and stuff like that, like I said, all this is free equipment that was given. At level 14, when I make 14, I'm going to get these parts here, which I can hold over and look at the statistics. At level 15, I'll get these parts. And then after 15, you start going into what they call prestige levels. Prestige levels are, you level up again, but it doesn't count you as level 16. It starts counting you prestige level 1, prestige level 2, and all this kind of stuff. And it will start to unlock all of these here. These other parts here. It may give you a container, which is a loot crate. You know, so it may give you some part of a special vehicle and stuff that are parts of packs. It'll give you parts for those pack vehicles as well. And then you can also acquire some parts that are considered, they're attached to a faction based on a seasonal event or something like that. So like in a previous season, I was awarded this Gravistar laser shotgun. I was awarded one and I got the blueprints for it. At the time, prior to that season, that was not a Dawn's Children weapon. It was introduced for that season. It became a Dawn's Children weapon. And then since they awarded me one, they mark it down here as an event gift, basically, of equipment for Dawn's Children. And then now it also appears in the Dawn's Children workbench for crafting because I also got the blueprints for it. That kind of thing. Got it? So these are that's the factions you can only have. Like I said, Engineers is always active. If you have a seasonal event that's going on, that will be considered active during the duration of the season. Other than that, you pick one of the other factions, and there's another one here, Founders. Founders can't be picked right now. It was basically like Syndicate was. It was a seasonal event that's not accessible right now. As far as if you leveled with them, then and you have access to some things on their workbenches, then you already have those that access. But you can't continue to level with them currently. Now, if they have another event that has founders included, then perhaps you'll have the opportunity to level with them more. But currently, you can't continue to level with them, so you can't make them your active faction. See, like it says, this faction cannot be joined. At the moment, it does not accept survivors into its ranks. Survivors being players. So we're going to go ahead and get them back off the screen here and only talk about these other remaining ones. Like I said, engineers, they're always accessible to you. They're constantly there. They do have some this one lists as the relic color, but it's not only relic, it's all the things above. Well, even the sticker is blue. I guess these two stickers are blue, but besides that, it's everything else above blue. So you have purples, you have, you know, gold, and then you have these relic pieces as well that are craftable in here. But this is the blue items for engineers, and this is the engineers are the only ones that have the common part workbench, the white items, which are prerequisites for all blue items everywhere, okay? And you would, so no matter which faction you have active, if you want to make a blue item of theirs or a rare item of theirs, then you're going to need at least 2 parts that are white. And usually it's just 2 parts that are white. In fact, I think it might be always 2 parts that are white and common parts. That means you're going to have to also come back to engineers to craft with them. You can only craft from whichever faction is considered your current faction. So if I want to craft an item off of the Nomad workbench, for example, if I want to craft one of these wyverns, right? Right now, I can't do so because wyvern, I would have to change to them. They are not my current active faction. You can only change once every 24 hours or 20 hours or something like that. I don't remember, but basically once a day. Dawn's Children is my current faction. So if I wanted to craft, for example, this pilgrim, and I needed that wyvern as a prerequisite and say I didn't have any, I would have to change to nomads in order to craft the wyvern and then wait a day basically to change back to Dawn's Children in order to craft the pilgrim. Follow? So you can only have one active at a time. It's going to, other than engineers and other than seasonal events, and it's going to have the check mark in the upper corner as well, and it's also going to be shown in the big square up here. All right. Before the season was here, engineers was here, and whatever your other active faction was here, and then the other 6, meaning founders here. Basically, these 6 right here, as you see them, would be the ones that would have been at the bottom of the screen. So, what else about factions? Oh, so additionally, factions give you co-drivers when you unlock a faction. The way it unlocks, first off, if you're a new player, you start only with engineers, all right, where you're allied or in alliance with engineers. And then after you get to level 10, you get to unlock access to lunatics, nomads, and scavengers. Once you pick one of them and make them your current active faction, in addition to engineers, you'll level up with both as you do battles and gain reputation with both at the same time. And then you also, in addition to gaining access to their workbench as you're leveling up and everything, when you go back to your garage, you have this little picture down here for your co-driver. You will gain access to that co-driver also once you've unlocked, or once you've accessed, I should say, that workbench, or that faction, I should say, not workbench. Once you've accessed that workbench, then you'll gain access to a co-driver as well. For example, I just haven't done it, and it's unlocked, Steppenwolves. I've never accessed Steppenwolves yet. I've never made them my current faction. All right, I've unlocked them, but I haven't made them my current faction. Because I've not done it, you see level 1, level 2, level 3. These are things that are going to be unlocked as I level up with them. Once I do. If I changed myself to Steppenwolves right now, these 2 things would be unlocked immediately, and I'd be able to build those things if I wanted. After I got to level 2 with them, I could do these. After I got to level 3, those. And then when I got to level 4 would unlock something, I'm sure. And then level 5, I would get access to craft these items, level 6, these items, things like that. And you can see how they go up in levels to be unlocked, right? So when I get to level 12, I could craft a tsunami, for example. Now, in addition, I don't have access to any of their blueprints or anything like that. They're all blocked, and you can see when they unlock 1, 5, 7, 10, 13, and 15. Additionally, all the free parts that they give, I don't have access to yet. Okay? All of those parts. Alright? I do have some of their parts that were given to me from a previous event, but not from joining Steppenwolves ever. Not from ever gaining a single ounce of experience with Steppenwolves. Additionally, because of that, because I have not gained a single bit of experience, I've never made them my active faction. You see that Hans here, who is the co-driver for the Steppenwolves, here's the faction symbol here, he gets unlocked when I change faction to them. Otherwise, I can't choose Hans to be my co-driver. The benefit of co-drivers is they provide different benefits for different weapon types. They level up through level 15, so it's 1 through 5, then 6 through 10, then 7 through 15. I'm sorry, 11 through 15. And then and some of those bonuses may accumulate. So like cannons damage 3%, for example. This was damage 1% at this level. This was cannon damage 2% at this level. So that's why it's cannon damage 3% right now. This would be another 2% if I leveled them to there. Then that would make it 5%. The way the co-driver stats work is the outer circle is the experience the co-driver needs toward the next level. So he's already experienced all the way up through level 15. And then the inner circle, the symbol that's inside the circle, when you click on that and select it, it will level them up and give them that benefit. I'm gonna have to pause you guys for a second here because this is an important phone call. So I will be right back. Okay, sorry about that. It was an important phone call. I had to take it. Nevertheless, so you pick so that's how you gain access to these co-drivers, and that is one of the benefits also to choosing a current faction is you'll gain access to these guys. They will get to level up, and then you will be able to achieve different benefits, from them by having them in your vehicle. You probably want to tailor your co-driver to whatever type of vehicle build you're doing. So if a guy is really good with cannons, like in this case, then obviously if you have cannons equipped, that's probably a good guy to have on your side. I tend to forget about my co-driver quite often. I'm going to be honest about that, but it is what it is. And also you'll wonder to yourself, well, how come if he's experienced all the way to level 15, and I'll show you the difference, by the way, he's not. He's only barely gained experience toward completion of level 9, for example. So he's level 8 right now because the circle is only partially completed. If you're wondering to yourself, well, why haven't you gone ahead and just clicked on it? Because you can see all you do is click it and it accepts. No, it's that way for the first 4 levels, you just click it when he levels, and he automatically gets that bonus. But once you get to level 5, there's a cost, and then 6 through 9 are free as he levels up. As he gains the experience, you can just click it and gain the benefit. But when you get here, you see there's a cost. See where it says required resources at the bottom? So it's going to cost scrap metal, it's going to cost wires, it's going to cost copper, I believe, or whatever. It's going to cost coupons as well that you gain from doing challenges and such. So, and from doing raids and things like that. That's what I mean. Yeah. So, so there's a cost, and I haven't expended that cost in order to get this guy 10th level yet. And once I do that, then I'll just, because he's already gained the experience for this, I'll just be able to go bing, 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 and all the way to 14th level will be complete. And then if I wanted 15th level, there would be an additional cost, because it's every 5 levels there's a cost. And that's for every one of them. So if you see somebody, like he's at 14th level right now, I'm not rushing to spend maximum range 5% bonus for machine guns and miniguns for this guy. Whatever. It's a lot of cost, though, in some cases, definitely, especially depending on what your return is. But they all have benefits with different types of weapons and things, so just considerations, you know. So what is this? This is energy weapons guy, right? Okay, I'm gonna need to start working on that guy. But nevertheless, that is one of the benefits of picking a particular faction to be your current faction. There's not a restriction as far as what your co-driver, which co-driver you have in your vehicle is not restricted by which faction is your current faction, though. So, like, despite the fact that I have Dawn's Children right now as my current faction, that does not mean that the Dawn's Children co-driver has to be my co-driver. I can pick a different faction co-driver, and there's no penalty to that. But generally, you're going to have, if you're specifically crafting or building, grinding toward crafting a particular item, you're usually going to want your current faction to be, you know, whatever it is that's going to allow you to craft the item or the prerequisites for that item. So plan this kind of stuff out if you really want to get involved in all that kind of stuff. Plan out when you need to maximize, you know, all the items that you're going to need in order to craft to a higher, you know, more powerful weapon or cabin or whatever it is. Write out all the things you need, which workbenches they're on, and try to build while you're still with a particular faction, so you're not having to wait an additional, you know, day to hop back and forth between factions all the time. You know, several days. You can lose several days in progress toward your desired item if you're constantly having to hop back and forth because you didn't plan out which items to build while you had a particular faction as your active faction, that kind of thing. Now, they have different themes to them. They have little blurbs here, little flavor text and all this kind of stuff. But it does give you an indication also of the kinds of things that they like to do. So, like, they're, like, lunatics are better with lightweight vehicles. They have melee weapons and shotguns and things like that they're big on. If you want further indication of what they are geared toward, what each of the factions are geared toward thematically, you can also just look. Remember, the faction emblems are here, you know, next to them or whatever, but you could also look at and it also says the name Faction Engineers, Faction Lunatics for Bulldog, and you can look at what he gives bonuses in as the co-driver, and that'll tell you the kind of things that faction will allow you to build also. As you gain access to the different workbenches, you'll see kind of thematically what they allow you to build a little bit, okay? Additionally, so again, with the prestige levels, this is how it would be depicted. So Engineers goes up to 30th level. These others go up to 15th before you start to develop prestige levels with them. But after 30th level, you continue to gain reputation with them, and it keeps going around the diamond here and gaining more levels, but it's not depicted here anymore. It starts getting depicted like this, and that represents prestige levels with that faction. When you hit prestige levels, usually they start giving you basically a little loot box as your reward instead of just items. Although there are some prestige parts as well that they give. So I think that's a good, solid, pretty comprehensive walkthrough of the Factions tab. So now we're going to go ahead and get back to playing the game. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this stream, because that way it's a separate video. It'll save as a separate video for me. And then I will come right back on, okay? So I'll be right back to streaming here in just a moment. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you for watching this video. We're just under an hour. And that way this tutorial on factions will be just under an hour. And we'll break into another tutorial next Tuesday instead. All right? So thank you for watching this. Much appreciated. If you got anything out of it, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit like and subscribe. If you're watching, or if you want to come see me on Twitch, or if you were watching right now on Twitch and you got anything out of this part, please go ahead and hit a follow. That's very much appreciated. I love to have new members of the community. I do tutorials on Tuesdays, especially heavy tutorials. I do light tutorials at various times also, ad hoc a little bit more as things come up. Anybody who has a question about the game, I like to go ahead and provide as much information and help and assistance as I can. And usually if somebody's a member of my community, especially, and they're watching on Twitch, and they post a question in the chat there, if I can't answer it myself, usually somebody in the community can. I have a good group of viewers and followers who all play the game for the most part too. And they're varying different experience levels, and they've of course had varying experience of their own just in gameplay as well. So they can answer a lot of questions in regards to what's a good combination, what's a good build, you know, all this kind of stuff. What effects does this have? All that kind of stuff. So for now, I will say thank you very much again, and I appreciate your viewership as always. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream and restart it so that I can just do my daily and weekly challenges and maybe some gameplay after this. But right now, we're going to end the tutorial stream by saying thank you very much. Tune in next time. I do this at noon Eastern time on Tuesdays for the tutorial. I also stream Crossout at noon Eastern time on Wednesdays, and then but not tutorial, just gameplay, daily and weekly challenges and things like that. And then I also stream at 3 p.m. Eastern time in the United States on Thursdays and Fridays with Crossout as well. And then of course I stream other games as well at other times, so to include Kenshi, as was mentioned, and some other games currently, but they're going to mix. It's going to be a little bit mixed. It's going to be variety. So if you're interested in any of that, Secret Squirrel Games is the channel. No spaces on Twitch. Secret Squirrel Games with spaces between the three words on YouTube. And I am, of course, your host, Secret Squirrel. Thank you again for tuning in. We'll see you next time.